What's up,
G,
Chris?
you in the
How's it
building?
going?
What's up? What's up? Good to see you, man. Haven't talked to
Hey,
you in a
good to see you as
minute.
well.
How was your break? I saw you over there chilling by the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, man. Me and my lady, we went to France, so it was a pretty cool experience.
Yeah,
Just got back to the States this week, so
nice.
it was good. How about you, man? Hope you had a nice break.
Yeah, dude, stuff was great. I saw my sister for the first time in a long time because she lives in Spain. Did some
Cool.
snowboarding, stayed healthy.
Nice.
Can't ask for much more.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
So
Awesome, man.
looking forward to
Awesome.
diving in here. I know you got a bunch of topics going on, so I'll get us started. We're 12:03, so
Okay.
I'll get us started with a little intro and then we'll kick it off. All right?
All right. Sounds good.
Cool. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Demand Gen Expert Series. We host these the first Thursday of every month. We bring a new expert in either marketing, go-to-market, sales, demand, something like that, to join us for a specific topic. This one we brought the one, the only Gaetano DiNardi back for our third installment, the third one of the State of Demand Gen. And so just a little context and background. In 2000, it was 2019, 2020, the year was turning, and I was doing an event in Miami in January of 2020, and I didn't even know, I had never met Gaetano before, but I had this film crew coming out from Hollywood to help with this event and film it that I did with Josh Braun, and I was like, I'm going to try and get my money's worth with this film crew that I'm paying to fly all the way out here. So I hit up this random guy named Gaetano DiNardi. I was like, hey, you want to film a video about Demand Gen? And he was like, yeah, let's do it. And so that was the beginning of an awesome friendship, someone that I respect a ton. And we've continued to do that. So we did that in 2020. We did that in 2021. In the middle of the year, Gaetano actually came to Boston and we filmed that in here, which was a cool time. And now we're kicking off 2022 with the third annual. We're going to have to keep this rolling, man. This is cool.
Oh man, this is amazing. Who would have thought? What can I say? What started off as something kind of just like, hey, spur of the moment, let's try it out, see how it goes. I don't even know how many people are on today, but man, it's just super cool to see. So
yeah, we just crossed 100 people live, which is awesome. So
cool.
To get this one started, we're going to get into some of the recaps of 2021, some predictions for 2022, some things like that, but gee, recently I know that you'd moved from a sales-led B2B motion into a direct-to-consumer, and so for me, I learned a lot of the principles that I use today in enterprise SaaS marketing, but I learned them running e-commerce marketing from 2013 to 2016. When you got no sales team, what does that mean? Your marketing actually has to fucking work. And so would love for you to just break down you've been there for a couple months now. Congrats on the new role. And would just love to hear, because I know that you're kind of seeing the same effect of like, gosh, things are different when you don't have a sales team. It changes your mindset on marketing. And so for the people listening, just to understand this a little bit more, it's not saying that you should go and run over and do PLG or DTC straight away, but you should start to think about the mindset of a B2C or DTC marketer, because they operate differently because there isn't a sales team, and I think it leads to a lot of stronger marketing behaviors. So GL, why don't you take it away with that to get it started?
Yeah, great one, Chris. I mean, I'll keep it short and sweet on this one. I've never been in direct to consumer in my career ever before. I've spent pretty much 10 years in doing B2B software. And, immediately what I've kind of noticed is that there's far less distractions in D2C than in B2B. Because there's no trade shows or conferences. There's no ebook lead gen campaigns. There's no webinars. There's no cold outbound sales. There's no meetings with sales saying, hey, these leads don't seem ready. What should we do with this huge batch of leads that aren't ready to buy? There's no win back campaigns. There's no ABM. There's no intent data, right? It's website conversion or nothing. And so in order to make that happen, you have to really think about brand like you've never thought about it before. Like what I've noticed in B2B is brand tends to be an afterthought. Everyone kind of goes to those bottom of funnel, quick response, direct response, lead gen tactics. And it just doesn't work in B2B, B2C or direct to consumer. So, it's website conversion or nothing, and you can't lie. You can't fake it till you make it. You can't hide. There's no hiding. Everything shows up in the numbers. There's daily numbers review.
The revenue
there's,
numbers,
yeah,
sales,
revenue numbers. You know, each part of the checkout process, the sign up flow is tracked as an event in Google Analytics. And so not only are we just looking at like, okay, did someone make it all the way through the process of signing up, and that counts as what we call in GA e-commerce transaction. We also look at the drop off points. And so there's so much that kind of goes into focusing on like doing the right things. You're not doing too many things, but the few things that you are doing, you really are focusing on doing them at super high quality and really understanding the audience, how they behave on certain platforms, their intent and their desires, what makes them tick, what are the differences between the different audience types, not just harping on personas and all these useless facts, but actually doing research into what motivates them, why are they here, listening to Gong, right? Talking to them. So all that stuff becomes much more magnified in direct to consumer because there's less distractions, such as all the ones I listed above before for B2B marketing. So maybe we'll kick it off with that.
Yeah, man. I love that. I had the same effect. I was, when you have only website checkout and you start doing marketing, like I will go a little bit of story. I started running Instagram organic. So I was just posting every day, thinking really thoughtfully about the copy, starting to build a community there. The community ended up being like 5, 6, 7,000 followers over time. And you just see like, wow, the people that are following me are the people that are checking out. You know what I mean? Like this stuff is working. And then when you do other things, like you try and run paid ads, direct response, shove people into a checkout, you realize, wow, these people actually don't get all the way through the process. So a couple learnings there. I know that you had a big agenda, so I'll pass it over to you if there's something that you want to definitely cover, and then we'll head back to my agenda after that.
Yeah, cool. So I have a huge list of predictions. I don't know if you want to call them predictions. Maybe it's like trends, things that I'm noticing, but I guess you can call it all of the above. But I wanted to kick it off with hiring. And I don't know if you had this on your list, Chris, but hiring for marketers, great quality marketers, is going to be, I believe, the top priority for marketing executives in 2022. And they are going to continue to struggle with this greatly for the reasons I'm about to mention about right now. One is that they lack the ability, marketing executives today, they lack the ability to attract high quality talent. Most of them do. There's lame company cultures, and there's unwillingness to pay top dollar for top talent. Companies are getting super cheap. And so just like inflation is happening in the economy, stock prices for great marketers are also increasing, right? The inflation for marketing talent, right? So you have to pay more for better marketers. And why is that? Why are we facing the great resignation? Yeah, COVID has a lot to do with it, but what it really comes down to is that the best marketers realize that they're able to charge way more and make so much more money on their own by not being held down by corporate nonsense and rules and being forced into doing tactics that don't work and so on and so forth, that they realize they can just make way more by ditching the full-time paycheck and going solo. And companies who want to attract top-tier marketers have to face that reality and say, if X marketer can make $250K annually by going solo, and we're only willing to pay $150K, why should I? If I'm a marketer, why would I do that? Why would I lose money and stick to what the rules that you want me to play by when I can just go on my own? So maybe we'll kick that off. I have some more things beyond that, but let's start there.
This is awesome. So I have my 2021 post. It was from January. I think I don't have the exact date. It just LinkedIn says 1 year ago. But I have my January 2021 predictions, and number one on the predictions was salaries for elite demand marketers will increase quickly. The gap between average and elite is extraordinary. Supply is low and demand is high, pun intended. And so I predicted this in 2021, and I still see it happening at an accelerated rate. Companies are going to they're going to struggle with hiring. They're going to have to pay top dollar for talent. And I think the last piece is the gap between top tier marketers and the average marketer continues to get wider and wider. I think that average marketers are not progressing and top tier marketers are progressing quickly. The gap's getting wider.
Absolutely. And I think there's another point here that you're going to love. The reliance on agencies, freelancers, and consultants is going to rise dramatically. Given the abundance of fundraising money available to pay for top skill marketers with less commitment, if you think about it, companies love the idea of more contractors and less headcount. It means not having to pay for healthcare, benefits, and other overhead costs, and they can enjoy the upside of highly skilled marketers who are, quite frankly, too skilled to work full time. So how hard would it be for most companies to find the kind of talent that you've harvested at Refine Labs, right? Like, you've thoroughly vetted all the people that you've hired. You have a process, right? Companies are really struggling to find, for one, the process, two, the talent, the execution, and the strategy. Like, they're scrambling, right?
Yep.
And so it's going to be far more valuable to go to Refine Labs or, any freelancer, consultant, or agency and say, yeah, sure, I'll pay your huge, fees because it's worth it. Because for me to have to try and find and do all this in-house, it would be too slow, too difficult, and actually even more expensive than just paying your monthly retainer. And so maybe we can riff on that a little bit as well.
Yeah, totally. This isn't going to be a sales pitch for me, but I'll put a couple of notes in here because I do see this direction moving. We call it hybrid talent here, which means that you need in-house marketers and you should inject external talent that's highly specialized and skilled with your marketers to inject IP processes, frameworks, intelligence, things like that to make your whole team work better. And the key thing on the internal marketers is that internal marketers need to be deeply embedded with customers. Customers and company strategy are the two things and the two main valuable points of why you would want to, as an in-house marketer, the two things that you want to focus on. And so I definitely see that that emerging as well.
Awesome. Do you have a point for the next one, Chris, or should I just keep rolling?
Keep rolling. I'll drop my thoughts in, but I have
Okay.
I got a list. I'm going to do my 2021 recap at some point, and I have 7 2022 predictions, so I'll drop them in as you go.
Okay, sounds good. All right, the next one I had on my list was marketing teams, specifically in B2B, will regain their dignity in 2022. And what I mean by that is we will no longer be seen as order takers from sales. I think there will, because of all the, I guess you can say rallying, right? From the efforts that are happening in the demand gen community and the growth marketing community, the daily content you're putting out, Chris, it's starting to create this sort of radiation effect. And I think people are starting to wake up. And what my hope is that we will stop being badgered about why leads are down on a daily basis. Why are we being asked to write cold outbound sequences for SDRs? Why can't SDRs write their own emails? Why do we have to do it? So I know this is a point I think on your list too, but it's marketing should be doing marketing and not sales, something to that effect. But why are we wasting time doing useless wingback campaigns just because the VP of sales is paranoid about missing targets? So I think there's a shift from marketers being viewed as order takers to we are now the unit in the organization that can transform the brand. We are the most powerful unit in the organization in terms of how we can shape perception in the market, educate, go to market, and drive demand. So basically, it's getting to a pure offense state, like you always talk about, Chris. And that's what I think is my point for this one, is that executive leadership and finance will finally enable marketing to reach a state of pure offense instead of being on our heels. So maybe we could talk about that.
Yeah, we'll see if executives catch up to it. But the reason why this is happening is not because my content is out there and people are like, oh, we got to move on marketing now. The reason is because the way that customers buy demands that you think differently about how you go to market and you think about marketing and sales. And so if you look at 2009 go to market, the main thing was sales. Sales came first. So you needed feet on the street to actually go out and contact people. Secondarily, it was product. And now, 15 years later, the only things that matter are marketing and product. You obviously need sales, you need finance. I'm not like belittling other functions, but when you think about actually selling and growing a business, you need a product that people love, that people keep talking about, and you need marketing to fuel that to continue to grow at scale. So that's the reason, the shift of why it's happening is because as buyers buy, how buyers have changed and how buyers buy has changed, where they can get most of their information on the internet. I talk about this deeply in Dark Social, and so I'm totally on board with that prediction as well. Let me drop one in here, and so you can see what you think. I'll put one of mine in here.
Yeah, please.
I mentioned this on Demand Gen Live, and I'm going to bring it back because this is my number one 2022 prediction for marketers, and this is more of like, it's not a prediction. This is going to happen, and it's just whether or not your marketing team does it. The number one most important thing that your marketing team could do in all of 2022 is to generate rapid customer insights that comes from a community that you built. It is unbelievable the amount of insights that inform product strategy, messaging strategy, where you advertise, where you put out content, how people think about you, how that fuels word of mouth, there's just immense benefits to doing it. And so companies create their community for their user group, right? Or for some little or other thing. But if you think more broadly, and it includes customers and future customers, and if your community includes future customers, it means that it needs to be very, very, really valuable. Otherwise, they're not going to come. And so it forces you to, I recommend allowing both groups of people to come to your community, because it forces you to create a community that people want without your product. And from there, then you get, I don't know, we got 124 people here live. Most of them are not my customers, but major insights. I'm reading the chat. I'm seeing what people are saying. I'm seeing how people are responding. And we do this multiple times a week. And so this event is not about me selling to you. It's about me learning all the things what you think, what questions you ask, things like that. I think that is honestly the number one thing that you could do as a marketing team coming into this year.
Yeah, that's an amazing one. I actually had this on my list as well. I just titled it slightly differently. It was VIP customer panels and communities become a secret weapon for brands seeking real insights from the trenches. Mm-hmm. And marketing teams who can capture this, synthesize it, and apply it to their strategy are going to win. So it sounds like we're pretty aligned there.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Great one.
Pass it back to you.
Yeah, cool, man. So let's get into this. I think this is a really important one. Oh, gosh. All right. So imagine that, me as a musician, right? I've created this awesome album. And I spent so much time in the studio writing the song, recording it, editing it, mixing the record, getting it to top tier quality. I've spent countless hours working on this masterpiece of a project. And now, what do I have to do? I have to promote it. I have to promote it. I have to get people to listen to my songs. Otherwise, why am I making music? So I can sit in my room and listen to my own stuff, I pay all that money and spend all that time just to make myself happy? It doesn't work that way. So the analogy I'm bringing to the table here is that just like musicians are really struggling today to promote their music and gain fans, and they're struggling with digital distribution, B2B brands, even D2C brands, pretty much all brands that are creating content have to really think more strategically about content distribution and promotion. And I don't know if this is a prediction or a fact, but I think it's going to be the most frustrating area in marketing for 2022. Brands and companies are going to spend incredible amounts of time, money, and invest resources into building content, and they're going to really struggle to get it out there. So what you need to think about is, with saturation reaching all-time highs everywhere, you need to find out, where does your target audience hang out online? Now, if you're not at if you don't have the luxury of promoting to salespeople, you can just go to LinkedIn for that, or growth marketers, you can just go to LinkedIn for that. It's a very obvious highway. How do you find where people hang out if you're audience is not on a very obvious highway. So you really need to figure that out. Think about the niche areas to promote your content if your audience is not very active on a broad platform. And I think one point to add to that before I pass it to you, Chris, is that because all these go-to advertising channels are so cluttered, so saturated, more money will be poured into influencer marketing than ever before this year. Think about it. Why would I lose thousands of dollars, maybe even tens or hundreds of thousands, millions, who knows, trying to grow my brand on a heavily cluttered platform like Facebook, when I could just go to someone like Dave Ramsey, who has a captive audience, and sponsor his podcast, assuming that, you know, Dave Ramsey has relevance in audience reach. So that is what I think we should talk about with this point.
Yeah, so I have so many notes on this one, but because it's great. So in my 2021 predictions, number 6 was properly executed KOL or influencer marketing will drive major results and have major adoption. I'm actually saying that that prediction was wrong. It should have been right, but I don't think that companies actually adopted influencer marketing very much at all in 2021, not to the level that I think people should. So that was a little point on influencer. Maybe 2022, a little bit more time, way more obvious, like it keeps growing. Maybe B2B companies will try it. Like, so it's interesting when you have the predictions because these things are true. The things that we're saying are true. It's just whether or not B2B companies will adopt them.
I think maybe my mind is shifting a little bit because in D2C, I'm seeing, I mean, this is a huge, huge.
Yeah, it's a huge part of it, for sure.
Huge part of it. Like one of our top competitors struck a deal with Vanessa Bryant.
Yeah.
Right? Gosh, that's massive. I mean, we were on Jimmy Kimmel. We were on Good Morning America, The View. I mean, that's not necessarily
it's really a PR strategy, PR influencer strategy, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a combined PR and influencer strategy together. And so, you know, in D2C, this is obviously really taken off, but I'm curious to see when B2B kind of adopts this a little bit more.
We'll see what happens. And then on the content and the digital distribution side, this was something that I had talked about quite a bit, maybe in 2020. And I thought that it was all about the distribution. And as I've continued to see it more and more with B2B companies, I actually think it's the whole thing. It's the strategy, it's the actual content, and it's the distribution. So there's multiple breaking points. It's not like they have all this amazing content that their buyers would love and they can't figure out how to get them in front of it. It's that they have all this content that their buyers don't love that they struggle to get people in front of, typically is what I see. And so breaking it into those 3 components. And the second piece is like, people think that because you don't, let's say that you're selling to like finance people or developers or something, that because you sell to this like more unique audience that isn't marketing and sales, that they don't use Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn, that you have to go to like Twitter or Reddit or someplace to get them. No, like the main platforms have immense scale. We target finance people and we have success on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Now we're having pretty good success on Reddit and Twitter. And so it's like, it's not necessary, like people are on almost all of the platforms. Like each target buyer is on all of the platforms, just whether or not you can make that platform work for you.
That's an amazing way to close that point out because I think it goes into my next point really nicely.
Love it.
Which is, here we go. Understanding audience intent and behavior by channel and content type becomes the most underrated marketing skill for 2022. So content fails because marketers don't really have a good way in many cases to grasp what audiences really care about and how they behave on certain channels. So a great example of this, what I call this is like content and channel mismatch or misalignment, right?
Exactly.
So, Chris, you know where I'm going with this, right? So, for example, posting links to long-form blog articles on social platforms, that's going to get you nowhere. That is going to get you absolutely nowhere. And, you know, I cringe, you know, when I think about some of my past experiences when, you know, whoever is leading marketing communications at at any given company says, hey, we need a way to, you know, create employee advocacy and engagement on social media. Can you send us a list of the top blog content that's performing well so we can have them distribute it on social for thought leadership. And I'm just like scratching my head like, yeah, that, you know what that's called? It's called lazy, right? And so not just like content type and style, but also like search intent is so important as well. Like for anyone out there that's doing search marketing, I know, Chris, that's not necessarily always part of like your immediate strategy, but I know you guys do a lot of it at Refine Labs with regard to paid search. But you know, another example of laziness is like when you just let broad match keyword campaigns run wild without deep understanding of intent, and you don't remain vigilant against irrelevant clicks that will bankrupt your marketing budget. So you have to actually go into the search terms reports and actually have to see what is driving actual clicks for the campaigns that you're running. And you have to be very vigilant about maintaining a tight negative keyword list. And there's so many examples out there where you just look at a keyword at face value and you say, yeah, we should go for this one. But then when you actually search it and you start to see what the results look like, and you start to get inside the mindset of someone who searches for a certain thing, and you see, wow, this isn't relevant at all, yet this is what's driving a huge portion of our clicks, that is waste. And so there's a lot that's kind of like intertwined here on this one, Chris. I'd be super curious to get your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, a great way to put this is the right context, like having content in context, right? So like the videos that I put on LinkedIn don't perform as well on YouTube. It's a different platform. The algorithm works differently. Like, and so like Gaetano mentioned on the blog, like having a blog that doesn't, hey David, can you stop that? Having a blog that isn't, that on LinkedIn that's not being shared, like that, sharing that can also cause some issues. So yeah, sorry, I got a little bit distracted there.
No, all good, man. And I think that one leads beautifully into the next one that I have. And Chris, I think you're going to really go on a tear here, but short form video will become, if it's not already, the most powerful content medium. Now, that's not to say that long form video doesn't work, because as Chris said, context and platform.
I posted a 9-minute and 59-second video on LinkedIn, and it's going to be one of my best performing videos ever, and that got posted today.
There you go, right? So not saying that long form can't work, but given the highly distracted and digitally distracted nature of how humans are today, short form video, I think, will become the most powerful content medium. It's the most repurposable. You can do storytelling, product explainers, how-tos, case studies, entertainment, recaps, right? Predictions and recap type stuff. All these types of videos, I think, are going to be the most effective way to resonate and create stickiness in the minds of your audience. Chris, what are your thoughts on
What
this
do you think? How would you define short form? I'm just interested because I'm sure everyone here has a different definition.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the way I think about it is like, I look at average times on page and like video watch through rates and stuff. And like when I see anything less than like 3 minutes, I just typically consider that short form.
Yeah, I think that's a good cutoff.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there's any hard and fast rule, but typically I just kind of think about it that way.
Yeah, my thought on this one is that it goes back into the context point, is that depending on the platform, like the context might be different, right? So people continue to lean in to be like, people come to me and they're like, we're doing a new podcast series. The hook about it is that it's only 3 minutes. You want to come on? And I'm like, and so people are moving to like, oh, it'll be more successful if it's short form. I don't actually believe that on a podcast. Most of our podcasts are 60 to 120 minutes. And so to just recap this point, depending on the channel, long form or short form could be the most appropriate, or some mix. But I think if you look at your overall broad content strategy, you should have a mix of long form and short form depending on the channel.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one example of a brand that I've seen recently that has a good mix of long form and short form is CNBC. They have
that's cool.
Sort of these they have these like quick like 5-minute explainers on like why credit card fraud is exploding in America, and then they have like really long ones like 15 minutes long like how X person survives in Atlanta making 120K a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they have a nice, I would say, smorgasbord of content variety and styles there you should check out.
Yeah.
Chris, do you have one? Or do
Yeah,
you
I
want me
got
to keep
one.
going?
Yeah, I'll jump on
Cool,
this
go for
one.
it.
Yeah. So I have a couple things here, and I'm just going to mention one for right now. But I had some things from 2020, 2021 that definitely happened that I didn't predict. And so I'm going to mention that and then see what we think about 2022. So one thing that I didn't predict and I didn't think was going to happen, but physical events really didn't come back, right? Like a couple people did them, but they're definitely not back. And excluding all of the like political stuff, let's please not interpret it that way at all. It's just like, it could happen again in 2022. It's possible that you are not going to have events for almost a third year in a row. And so companies have been sitting like, I guess we don't really need to get our digital stuff going. I guess our content doesn't really need to be going. Events are going to come back soon. Like, we'll be good. And it keeps getting pushed out. And I think that, I know that some people as buyers are probably interested in coming back, but I don't think that we're going to be back to where it was in a significant period of time, if ever. And so it'd be interesting to see what you think about that for 2022, specifically physical events.
I'm right there with you. It didn't really have the resurgence we thought it was going to have in 2021. Me personally, I went to one event.
Me too.
And it was because I was super homies with the folks that were throwing it. And that was Amy Volas and Scott Leese's Thursday Night Sales Live in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And also my brother lives in Vegas, so I had an extra excuse to go to that one. But if it weren't for those factors, I don't think that I would have gone to any event kind of like ice cold or at least lukewarm. So yeah. I'm right there with you, Chris. I don't know if I have much more to add on that. I think
awesome.
You're dead on.
Cool. I got one more, and then we'll keep ping-ponging back and forth. So this is a 2022 prediction. And all I have written down here is display ads RIP. It's I know the ABM vendors love to push them because it's the easiest way to do it and the easiest way to target based on IP address, right? So I know that they love, and it's easy to have it in the platform and get deployed across all these websites and show you low CPMs and a bunch of other things, and then they can take view-through conversions on retargeting audiences on display ads and chalk that up as wins. I'm going to say that to you again because I know a bunch of people look at the analytics here and don't understand them. So what happens is that inside of ABM platforms, they have intent data. A lot of the intent data is actually just website visit data. So then they have somebody came to your website, they call that intent, so now they're in market. And then you start deploying ABM ads either to that person or to that account or some form of both. The people have already been on your website. They don't care at all about the display ads. Most people never see them. 3 days later, after they've talked to the person, they come back and convert, and people are like, yeah, our display ads did a bunch of effort. People have literally done experiments with this, and we will do more at Refine Labs, where they take one that's a picture of Snoopy and another one that's the actual display ad, and A/B test them, run side by side, and there's no difference in the data because people aren't actually seeing the ads. The ads aren't making the impact. It's an attribution. It's like biased attribution. So I'm not sure if across the board people are going to realize this stuff. I'm not sure if B2B companies are going to, but I do think that people are going to wake up and start to scrutinize that channel a lot more because there's a ton of garbage inventory, a lot of messed up metrics, RIP display ads.
This is one that brings tremendous joy to my soul. I'm very, very pleased to hear you bring that one, Chris. I have a perfect, I think, point that's going to flow nicely with what you just said. But to the point of display ads, here's the problem I really have with them. Aside from cheap clicks and generating junk and all that stuff, right? When you are in a industry like identity theft protection, how do you think you're going to convey a powerful message that is emotion outcome driven in just some display ad that you see on some site that you're reading some content on? Like how does that really, it's the messaging part. It's the how do you get that across, right? Like for you guys that don't know, I was pickpocketed 3 months ago while I was vacationing abroad, and my identity was stolen after they got access to my phone. And they changed my Apple account ID and password and locked me out. They changed my Gmail password and locked me out. They changed the passwords to everything possible and locked me out. I suffered a really, really bad financial loss as a result. It was a nightmare process trying to recover all my accounts, right? So when you think of the severity of that, a very, very, very severe, traumatizing, really life event, like I am like the most paranoid security type person ever now when it comes to digital security and online theft. How do you convey that in a display banner? You just can't. So going even deeper and beyond this, what I predict is going to happen is companies who wake up are going to shift budget and marketing activities away from display and move it to YouTube pre-roll advertising, because
they better think about the videos then.
That's right. You better think about the videos, but video is much stickier. You have the opportunity to resonate more effectively. I mean, there's countless examples of brands who have crushed it and grown tremendously by that tactic, right? And so that is my point on that one. And then I think it leads beautifully into the next prediction that I have.
Let me talk through a couple of these things, man, because it's funny.
Let's go for it.
On the it's way easier to have some freelancer on Fiverr put together a couple banner ads for you than put together a video that's actually going to work in YouTube pre-roll, right? So B2B companies do not think enough and invest enough in the creative and the content for a lot of those things to work. So yeah, the media is definitely better on YouTube than in display, but in order to get it to work, you need more than just the media. And a couple other notes on why display ads are IP, just for people, is that Gaetano mentioned going on a website and actually seeing the ads. And what I'm saying is that the amount of time that you would even have the opportunity to go to those websites to even see the ads is going way down, because where do you spend time? You spend time on your on mobile apps, on social networks. There's no display ads on either of those. In communities like Slack or Facebook or LinkedIn, none there. On content platforms like Apple, Spotify, places like that, no display banner ads there. And so how much time are you spending to even be eligible to get served banner ads, right? Like I occasionally go to some like blog to read the news or things like that and see a couple of them, but the amount of time that people do that on the internet compared from 2014 to now, it's not even close. Display ad impressions are way up because there's more money being poured into them, and there's a bunch of garbage websites that they can. Have you been on some of the websites lately? There's not even content on them anymore. It's just display ads fucking everywhere. Okay, yeah. I'm off my soapbox now.
No, dude, I'm so glad you brought it up. I mean, what did the CEO of Netflix say? We're not competing with Hulu. We're competing with sleep. So when you think about display ads in that context, it's like, you're not. It's not even getting to the point now where people are visiting Forbes and all these crappy news sites, because everyone's now consuming content on, like you said, communities, Slack groups, LinkedIn, social, places where there aren't hundreds of annoying ads everywhere. So you can actually consume the content without it being an interruptive experience. So I think that's a fantastic point. Let's get into the next one that I got, Chris. You're gonna love this one.
We might have to do. We're 40 minutes in, man. We have to do a part 2, but let's keep it going.
Yeah, we may have to. I think this is maybe the best session ever, because we're just.
I know both of our other ones have gone for 90 minutes. I should have thought ahead.
Yeah. So this one is huge. This one is huge. Huge. This is paramount. Copywriting for landing pages. This is my prediction. Copywriting for landing pages and websites moves away from fluffy, baseless claims and pointless strategic narratives, and shifts back towards specific, useful, clear copy that helps site visitors immediately understand what the page is about, what the product does, who it's for, why. Messaging that has become far too aspirational, far too futuristic, is driven by internal delusion from product marketers, product teams, CEOs, whoever else. And it all stems from one thing: disconnect from customer reality, which is the first, I think, point you brought up, Chris. Mm-hmm. So when you don't have a VIP customer panel, disaster can happen when you are doing things like website redesigns and homepage updates and landing page headline updates and stuff like that, because you're guessing. You're coming up with, what you're doing is you're taking some messaging framework or rubric that some product marketer internally came up with, who barely talks to any customers, who doesn't understand the trenches, doesn't listen to calls. They just get all their direction from the CEO and product team. Then they give that messaging matrix to some poor copywriter who now has to guess and figure all this crap out. And they basically have to come up with something that's gonna please the CEO. And this...
The CEO's not who you're writing for, you know?
No, but this will ruin companies. Companies who continue this will be ruined. They will be ruined if they continue to do this. And so my hope, my prediction is that we will see a lot less of this. We will start getting back to copywriting fundamentals, clear, useful, specific. You can use examples like Basecamp. I think they're some of the best copywriters ever for B2B. They do a great job with depicting scenarios like life without Basecamp, life after Basecamp, before and after comparison stuff is very powerful. But any way you want to go about conveying a message in a way that's useful and clear is where copywriting is going in 2022. And Chris, I would love to get your thoughts.
100%. As someone that for historically has not identified as a copywriter, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't identify that way still, but I write a lot of copy for LinkedIn posts, and I think I'm getting pretty damn good at it. So I believe a lot in the power of copywriting. I can give you a couple of examples of exactly why. I can take a video and I can post it on LinkedIn, and I can have one set of copy, and that video could get 100 engagements. And I could literally just rewrite the copy 2 weeks later and post the same video, and it could get 1,000. People don't realize how, if you're posting video on social platforms or pictures on Instagram or anything like that, how much the copy actually matters to whether or not it's successful. It's crazy. I didn't respect it enough years ago, and as I've gotten on my LinkedIn journey, it's crazy. The writing paired with the video matters a lot. And so I think that if you really distill your point here, G, or if you even bubble it up, it's that you can't be doing product marketing, you can't be running demand, you can't be doing marketing at all without the insights from customers. Whether it's copy with something so tactical as copywriting or something more up to anything, that if you don't have the insights, that's why you get the fluffy stuff, because you don't have the sanity check to be like, our customer would never understand what this means. You know what I mean? So I've taken this, and I think that marketing teams should take this approach, is like, you need to be, it's so simple, you need to be the voice of the customer at your company. You need to know everything about them, whether or not they would respond to this, how they think about things, how they feel about certain issues, how they feel about you versus your competitor in certain slices and demographics, how they think about the product, what the pain points are, so that you can inform or guide the product roadmap. These are all things that, with the customer insights, that marketing teams can really not necessarily own. It depends how the company's structured, but definitely create input on. And at the very least, it's going to give you a significant advantage when you actually go out and do your actual marketing job.
Well said, man. Super well said. Love it.
Cool. I'm coming in with one here. I was going to call it a revolution, but it's really not. It's just it's an insight that there's in the beginning, the middle of 2021, I've been scrutinizing how attribution software is used in B2B companies for a long time. Beginning in the middle of 2021, we started to put real dents and cracks in what it's doing by using self-reported attribution and other things that provide data to show what I've seen qualitatively since 2015, to now show the differences between what customers say and where they found you versus what attribution software says. And I believe that in 2022, B2B companies will actually start to take seriously the attribution mirage and the difference between what's actually happening in the world versus what the software is telling you, which is a very different story.
That is a huge one. I think we've all faced the problem of of certain channels getting like all the credit, because there's various reasons why that happens. But if you look at any attribution report, you always see the bottom of funnel channels. You always see organic search,
paid search, direct.
I mean,
review sites, or other like affiliates, exactly. All those.
Exactly. You see all those, but you don't really see the effects of brand marketing. You'll pretty much never see that show up in an attribution report. And there are ways around it. Like Chris, I know you've been really preaching to add a open text field on sign-up forms, which that is awesome. And I know there's some people even on this call that have implemented that. I know Pete from Alice has been doing that, and he's been getting some really fascinating insights there. So shout out to Pete, shout out to Nick as well from Alice. I see you guys both here. But I think about a company like Aura. We're on Jimmy Kimmel, we're on The View, we're on Good Morning America. We are the official sponsor of the Minnesota Timberwolves NBA team. And a lot of times those activations, if you want to call it that, are tied to a specific URL or a promotional link, right? So we can actually, we don't have to really rely so much on attribution software, because like if we're sponsoring, say, I don't know, some super well-known podcast, that podcast is going to come with click on, aura.com/Dave Ramsey, for example, and we'll see the results there. But what we also look at is time-bound spikes in branded traffic and impressions. And we know and the radiation effect of all that across all channels is huge. We can see exactly the time-bound correlation between when a certain national TV activation went live versus the huge spike in branded traffic and signups from branded sources. And we know that even though branded and direct is getting the credit, we know what marketing activity was the catalyst for that. And so I think this actually leads really nicely into my next prediction, Chris, which is that realism, if you want to call it gut instinct in marketing, or having a realistic outlook on what's happening, I think this becomes the most critical soft skill for marketers in 2022. And let's go through some things that would kind of reflect realism in marketing, or being realistic about what's happening, or using your gut instinct instead of being so programmatic or robotic and sticking to every number out there possible. When you clearly see that targets are just like set way too high and they're not going to be able to be hit. When you look at historical trends in revenue and signups, and you see that the upcoming year's targets are like 5x more than they've ever been historically. Well, how are you going to do that? Right? So you need to be able to figure out those kinds of things. Then what we talked about before is not being delusional about website messaging and positioning. That's another huge one. Accepting when your product is not up to feature parity, or from a quality standpoint, your product is just not good enough, or not as good as other products in the market. And that can be recognizing that you have a reviews problem, which could be really hurting your pipeline. If you should be reading what people are saying about your product and brand on review sites compared to others. And if there's glaring discrepancies, or there's a glaring delta, like you really lack something, like it could be even something like, oh, the user experience is not as intuitive as the other one. Or a competitor is offering a freemium version of something that we're requiring the market to pay for. All these things can contribute to lower results or worse marketing execution. And so having just sort of the zooming out, being able to zoom out as a marketer and having a bird's eye view of like the whole picture, like together, and all these sort of factors are super important. And if you just get lost in tactics and spreadsheets and Google Analytics and intent data and this and that, you will totally miss it. And so we should probably riff on this for a bit, Chris.
Yeah, and when you adopt this idea of realism, and you go in and you see, hey, like we're falling short here and we're doing this here, and you listen to customers, and then you have the truth, guess what? Then you can actually develop a strategy that works. Then you can say, oh, it looks like our product isn't ready for the enterprise because all of the companies at more than 10,000 employees and above on G2 are saying that our product isn't as good and they're moving to X, Y, Z. But it looks like right over here, there's this awesome sliver of a market that loves our stuff. And what if instead, I know that our investors want us to move up market, but why don't we just stay here where people love us and win until our product is ready to win somewhere else? And those are some of the easy, obvious strategy adjustments that B2B companies won't make. People call it gut, but it really is just qualitative data and insights. You get the insights from customers that inform an analysis for you to make a decision or try and drive a strategy. I used to call it gut, but it's really not. It's that I've just been exposed to a bunch of marketers in a lot of different ways, and I have a good feeling about what's working and what's not. And so people think that acknowledging that your product isn't up to snuff in a certain area is a bad thing. No, it's not. Acknowledge it. It's real. That's what customers are saying. And then figure out how to adjust your strategy and react so that you can go out and win.
Amazing. I have one final point to add to that. It dovetails perfectly, and then maybe we can close out, and maybe you have one more, Chris, but yeah. I'll make this one quick. You know, Chris, one of your points is like thinking about marketing in a long-term context. And I really agree with that so much, but this point is kind of like a twist to that, like a plot twist.
I love it.
And while you should be thinking about marketing in a long-term context, you should also be able to recognize when to abandon something that's not working. Mm-hmm. And so you need to be able to recognize when you are reaching a point of diminishing returns because you are over-optimizing. You are testing for the sake of testing. You're wasting time. You're wasting resources. You've tested something so thoroughly, and because you have maybe some point you really want to make, you're trying to find ways to make, your hypothesis be the right one. You're clogging everything up in the marketing pipeline because, you want your point to be right. Or even beyond that is failure to acknowledge things like seasonality. So people are on vacation during certain parts of the year and they don't want to buy. Companies don't want to accept that. I think, Chris, you had a great post on that one recently. Also, this doesn't mean making excuses, but acknowledging external factors such as Google algorithm updates. These happen all the time. Sometimes rankings fluctuate just because Google is testing something. Same thing with social media. Social media algorithms can change, quite fast for any given reason at all. And it may not be the case that your content sucks or something's not working. You just may need to react differently to the external forces that are creating these pressures on you. And so maybe we can riff on that one, Chris, because I think it's a super, super important one for 2022.
Yeah, you got to look at marketing in a long-term window, but you got to be able to recognize when your strategy isn't working, right? And so I think a lot of, not a lot of people, but I've fallen into this as a marketer before, of like, we got to look at marketing in the long-term view. We've been doing our blog for 9 months. We just need to give it more time. We need to look at it in a long-term view. This is in 2013 or something, and it's like maybe 14, and it's like, a blog works. Our strategy about blogging doesn't work, right? And so people, present day, podcast, community, paid social ads, organic social, those are things where if you're thinking about, hey, we've been doing this for 4 months and we're not seeing any type of results, or let me extend that out, if we've been doing this for like 9 months and we're not seeing any results, all those channels that I just mentioned work fabulously to drive results. So if you're at that 9-month mark and you're not seeing anything and you know that you're measuring it appropriately, then you got to take a hard look at the strategy. And so that's one point. And I also do see people over-optimizing or over-analyzing to a point of major diminishing returns. For instance, some things like conversion optimization on landing pages, looking at every individual piece of, like, if you ran 100 different paid social variations, looking at all the different paid social variations to look at, but over here, like, the text was bigger and that's why it worked better, and it's most likely not the reason why it worked better. For those are some things that I see people doing.
Well said, man. Do you want to do a quick rapid fire, like 1 minute? I'll throw some things at you and you just say yes, no, I don't know.
Yeah. Let's do a quick rapid fire and then we'll close out.
Rapid fire round. International expansion for B2B.
Most companies aren't ready to do it in marketing.
Awesome. TikTok.
It's in my predictions. We didn't get to it, but smart B2B companies will move on TikTok this year.
Hell yeah. Ungated product tours.
Better than submitting a demo and waiting six days for an SDR to follow up with you with no calendar link, and then you just bail out.
Awesome. Email newsletters.
Not for me, but there's some that can work.
The state of cold outbound emails.
We crossed over 50 employees like maybe last Q4 or Q3, and geez, are these things annoying. Just I go click in, they see that all the people that send me emails have 100% open rate, because I go in there and I click report spam and unsubscribe.
Yeah, I do the exact same. I think that's all I had for the rapid fire.
Yeah, man, that was a cool rapid fire.
That was cool.
All right, everyone. G, great to have you back here. We might, who knows, stay tuned for the podcast now, because we might have to get part 2 going. I wish we had more time. But this has been awesome. We had some predictions. And we will be back in February to do this event again. That would be the first Thursday of February, and looking forward to seeing you all there. Thanks, awesome. Everyone. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.
Have a great start to 2022. See you, everyone.
That's right. Take care.
I got a little distracted there, but it's